Welcome to Just Some Points, episode 46. Today we will talk about B2B marketing. I'll give a quick overview of some of the more common channels that everybody is doing. And then Melissa and Catherine then will take a deep dive on email marketing for B2B and LinkedIn marketing. I just want to touch on a few things that most companies basically use as the default go-to place, which is Google, to run Google Ads for a B2B, which certainly has its valid place in the marketing strategy. But too often for B2B marketing, what's forgotten is geofencing and geo-targeting as one way of having more targeted Google advertising being used. I've used it for one client once that wanted to market during a conference to all the professionals and companies that went to the conference, and they ran advertising on Google in all the hotels where the people stayed from the conference. So that would be just an example how you could use Google targeting, geo-targeting, or geo-fencing for B2B marketing. For B2B marketing on a national level, social media, Twitter, and any of the other channels is certainly a valid channel for B2B marketing, but it really should be evaluated how much you want to put in that channel versus other channels. For healthcare companies, I would continue to highly recommend to do referral marketing. Have a referral marketer, depending on your practice size, go out to referring base to other doctors' practices, and we make connections. That is something that we has a high return on investment in our experience. And for smaller practices, even mid-sized practices, it doesn't mean you need a full-time referral marketer. A part-time person, that's really good enough from our experience. So that's really just, most of you who do B2B marketing, that's what you're used to do. But today we wanted to focus on email marketing and LinkedIn marketing. Why don't we get started with LinkedIn marketing and do a deep dive on that, because LinkedIn has become really a big opportunity to have very highly targeted marketing being done.
Absolutely. So there's many different aspects of how you can use LinkedIn for B2B marketing. Primarily, LinkedIn ads is one of the best things that you can do. It was actually ranked the #1 platform for B2B lead generation by marketers. And so this is because they have a one-of-a-kind benefit, which is their specific targeting options. So your ads can be targeted based on professionals' job titles, job function, the specific company, if you know a list of company names, the overall company size, industry, and more. That's all on top of, like the normal age and location-based targeting as well. So this really helps you reach your specific audience, and you know that the right people are seeing your ads. Whereas on other platforms, like on Facebook, people don't put in their job titles on their Facebook profile typically, but on LinkedIn, everybody has their job titles and their company industry right on their profile.
Everybody usually keeps it up to date too.
Exactly.
So, as soon as somebody's changing job, you usually know about it and can even get notified.
Exactly. And 4 out of 5 LinkedIn users are actually the decision makers for their company. So if you want to reach, small business CEOs, you can put that in as your targeting, and you're reaching those decision makers for your company.
Wow.
So on top of that, you can also post organically, just like you could on any other social media channel. So people can follow you and interact with your posts just like they could, but you can actually do targeted organic posts as well. So if you have industry specific posts, you can post those to those specific industries so that that people are seeing the right messages from your company. And also your employees can then interact with the posts that you share and share it out to their network as well. And LinkedIn users are actually 14 times more likely to share content from their own employer than other content on LinkedIn.
Oh, wow. I didn't know that.
Yeah, it's definitely interesting. Like sometimes I've scrolled through LinkedIn and I'm definitely more likely to engage with like our posts rather than
Hmm.
other posts that I do see out there. There's also LinkedIn groups, which you can create and join to connect like-minded professionals. So if you create the group, anybody on LinkedIn can join and you can put out posts. The group members can post as well to all share maybe different tips or different products that they use, and then you can promote your product if that's what you're trying to get out there.
It's
And there's
also that the groups itself are also a good way to re-engage with other people. For example, there's some really highly valuable groups out there. Let's say if you're a practice manager of a medical practice, there are tons of practice manager groups that share information, which is obviously valuable, but also through that channel, then through these groups, you can actually reach out and make contact with other practice manager that you might want to have more referrals from that practice.
absolutely. Another thing that you can do on LinkedIn is direct messages through in-mail messages. So they're actually sponsored messages that you can direct message to people. Again, with the same targeting as the rest of the ads and things like that. But it's just a direct message to somebody's inbox, and 1 out of 2 prospects open and read your message. So you can customize the message with your call to action, whether you want website visitors or app downloads or whatever you're trying to promote. And then you'll be given the stats on the open rate and the click-through rate and things like that. And lastly, LinkedIn is primarily known for their job postings. So you can put out messages to candidates that you're looking for about a new opportunity. And 40 million people use LinkedIn to search for new career opportunities. So it's a great way to get your company out there if you are looking to hire somebody. And again, it has the same detailed targeting for the type of job and industry and experience level and things like that.
Very good. Cool. I also they have a tool called Sales Navigator that allows you to actually link the LinkedIn information to, let's say, your CRM system. Should you have a CRM system, or I think even mailing systems, you can probably link that to, which is very, very interesting. So if you have a sales force or we a process for sales or business development, the Sales Navigator might be something that you might want to look into. Very good. Very interesting. Melissa, I think you're talking about the fact that email marketing is not dead, right?
Yes, exactly. Email marketing is always kind of that one channel that's always in question. People don't really understand if it's effective enough to reach your consumers, or if the consumers just ignore the e-blasts that they receive, even from their favorite brands. But this past year in particular really proved that email marketing is nowhere near dead. So some of the stats that I found from 2020, email marketing results in an ROI of 4,200%. So every $42 that you spend on email marketing, or I'm sorry, for every dollar you spend in email marketing, you get $42 in return. Email marketing is also 40% better at converting than social media channels, because you can customize your email automation to hit your customers at their, various points of their customer journey. So you can market to them right when they're in the research phase, or if they left their cart wide open, you can kind of send them a reminder, say, hey, don't you want to purchase this? And they kind of just get right back into it. So there's a lot of different levels that you can personalize your emails that make it much more conversion ready than just an average social media ad could.
I think that this is one of the things that we changed in email marketing or with the email platforms, and correct me if I'm wrong, but It really used to be that if you want to do some email or marketing automation, you really had to buy or subscribe to specific marketing automation software, which were very expensive, like some of them. And now most of MailChimp and all of those, they have some very basic and not so basic marketing automation, right?
Yeah, that's exactly right. Depending on what platform you choose, they do have various integrations. You could go, like you said, with the more fancier and more advanced marketing automation. It kind of just depends on what you want to do with it. But most platforms do offer some sort of add-on or, limited version of marketing automation. And then the last statistic I found, which I thought was really interesting, is that marketing and advertising emails influence purchase decisions of 50.7% of consumers. So the emails that they might not necessarily open every single one that you send them, but the ones that they do open really do make an impact on at least 50% of all consumers.
Wow.
So in order to grow your B2B email list, the best thing that you can do is start off with your existing clients. That's where you're obviously going to get the most bang for your buck, because that's where successful engagement has worked in the past. Another way to gain your email list or to grow your email list is through pop-ups and forms on your website. Because let's face it, your sales team and your employees, they're not working for you 24/7. So in those off hours and when people are browsing on weekends, those are the perfect opportunity to just gain emails just through pop-ups and forms. And that's a very automated process, because you just fill out the form and your form can connect to whatever platform that you're using, and it just gets added to your list, and there's no manual work involved in that at all. I also recommend that you get creative with your content. People are more willing to fill out those pop-up forms and more willing to give their information when they're engaged with your business and your brand. So things like quizzes and contests and giveaways, trying to really capture your audience in a very unique way that makes it worth giving their emails and getting added to the list. They know that they're going to get bombarded with a bunch of emails, not necessarily from your brand, but just all brands in general. So you want to make it worth it and more enticing.
And I think related to that is the subject line. It's something we can't emphasize enough, that we see it often that people spend a lot of time creating a great newsletter or a great mailing and have a completely boring subject line, and people don't open it because of the subject line is completely non-descriptive or really completely boring. So spend as much time on the subject line as you spend on figuring out what type of mailing you want to push out.
Yeah, exactly. Your subject line is your first chance at making an impression. You can have the most beautifully designed email out there with the best offer inside, but if your subject line is not enticing enough, you're never going to get that first interaction. You're never going to get that first click to open the email, which is why paying attention to your open rate is probably at least when you're growing your email list, that's what you need to pay attention to the most in terms of metrics and measuring your success is your open rate, because your emails are not going to be effective at all if you don't have a strong open rate.
Very good.
And once people do, click on your emails and they're enticing enough subject lines, you want to make the content of your email worth it. Obviously, you want to put your most important information at the top, and you want to repurpose your content as much as possible, because you try to make this as automated as possible. So, incorporating the content of your email with the social media content calendar and your blog calendar and the information that's on your website really should all go hand in hand, because email is not a isolated channel, because it's all about repetition. You want to make sure that your message is getting across no matter how people are coming to find you. So that's why.
Also as an extension of that topic, is, segment your database if you need to. Meaning, we're talking about B2B marketing here. Very often companies, especially in the healthcare industry, they target B2B and B2C. And, if you send out a B2C newsletter to a B2B target, it's probably not going to be very effective. While they might look at it, you really should think about, having a more sophisticated approach and strategy where you really start trying to segment your database, and so that you can actually have B2B newsletters potentially that are more adequate to your targets on the B2B side.
Yeah, exactly. Segmenting your email list is how you are truly going to have successful campaigns. I already talked about open rate, just so you have a little bit of a reference. The industry standard is an open rate of about 15 to 25%. So it doesn't seem very high. So when you see an open rate of 10% in one of your very first, e-blasts, that's not necessarily a bad thing, because in general, open rate is kind of on the lower side. But again, it all depends on your strategy. It depends on your subject line, your content, and your frequency in sending emails. You never want to overdo it. You never want to send too many, and you never want to only send, a very scarce amount, because then you'll never reach the top of inboxes either.
On the subject line topic, one more thing. If you're not sure which type of tone and which direction you should take with subject lines, do A/B testing. Divide your database in half, send half to one subject line and the other half to the other subject line, and measure it, which one is more successful. And then over time, you will gain intelligence on what type of subject lines are more successful.
Yep. So other ways to measure the success of your campaigns, you also want to pay attention to your click-through rate. So once people do open your emails, you want to keep track of how many people are then linking back to your website or your social media or whatever you're trying to get people to do. So click-through rate is kind of how you would determine the action. They're the percentage of people who took an action from the emails that they did open. Same with conversion rate. So that would be, once you do get them to the website, how many of them then went and made a purchase? So how many of them completed the customer journey? And those are kind of the big three you really want to pay attention to when it comes to measuring the success of your campaign. I will add that the unsubscribe rate is also important. It doesn't necessarily have to do with the full customer journey, but you do want to make sure that people aren't unsubscribing a lot, because you can get blacklisted, and you could eventually get blocked from sending emails out to people. So you just want to make sure that you're not getting, an unearthly amount of unsubscribes.
Yeah, we had one client that many years ago, his domain was blocked, and it was a major headache. It was not easy to reverse it and fix that. Exactly. And it was because they used basically an email list that they got from somebody, and it was really not the mailing list. So you have to be very careful about that.
Yeah, we would never really recommend buying an email list online. The best customers that you can find are, through them voluntarily signing up for your e-newsletters and things like that. The people that you've had previous engagement with.
Right. Very well. That concludes our episode, I think 46. We're 4 away from our 50th anniversary. Hope you found it interesting, and see you next time.